Hi, this video will show all about Europe. We're going to start with the northern region. You can see these are the countries that we are talking about here. As far as how the landscape was formed, most of the landscape was formed due to the last ice age and glaciers. As the ice age receded, as those glaciers receded, it cut lots of long, deep valleys. Some of them are full of water now, and those are called fjords. Some of the other landforms, you have the Baltic Shield, which covers this part of the area surrounding the Baltic Sea. You have the Jutland Peninsula, which is Denmark, the Scandinavian Peninsula, which is Norway and Sweden. There are lots of waterways, lots of rivers, lots of access to water in all of the northern region and pretty much all of Europe as well. You do have some things that separate the region out. Denmark is included in the northern region, but it is actually connected to the other part of Europe. Water kind of separates the rest of this area, including Iceland and Greenland, including these countries up here in the Scandinavia area. The North Sea is an important waterway. It is full of natural gas and oil over here. And you also have Norway using hydroelectric power for a lot of their electricity. As far as climate, you can see the different climates here. Marine West Coast, subarctic, humid continental, tundra. And some of the reasons for this do have to do with ocean currents, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. Some of the other things that can be said about the northern region, it's often called the land of the midnight sun because in the summer it is so high up in latitude that there are several weeks that the sun doesn't really set. You can also see the northern lights or the aurora borealis, and this has to do with the way that the sun hits the atmosphere and you have these twinkling lights up in the northern hemisphere. A lot of the climate is very harsh, subarctic, the further north that you go, and the further inland you go, because you do have mountains that prevent a lot of that warm air from making it further inland. So here is the climate or the ocean current situation. So you have the Gulf Stream down here, which picks up all of this warm air around the tropics. It meets up with the North Atlantic current, and that's going to push a lot of this warm air over here to the western part of Europe, which is really going to keep a lot of these countries a lot more mild than they actually should be, based strictly on latitude. Some of the natural resources here is a natural resource map of all of Europe. Iceland uses geothermal energy. You have forests in Finland and Norway. You have that North Sea with the natural gas and oil. We talked about the hydroelectric power of Norway. The Baltic Shield area, this area up here, has a lot of copper and iron. Moving on to West Central, so we've got everywhere from Austria to France, including the United Kingdom and Ireland here. The most important landform in this area is definitely going to be the Alps Mountains, which are part of the Alpine Mountain system. The Alpine Mountains cover not just the Alps Mountains, but they're going to go down into the Balkan Peninsula, and we'll pick that up later. You also have the North European Plain. This is going to be the main agricultural area. You see there are some other plains areas, but the North European Plain is most important for agriculture. As far as waterways, like I said, with the northern part, pretty much all of these countries have some type of access to the ocean or sea. They might have to go through a river, but they do have that access to the sea. Looking at a couple of the rivers here, you've got the Danube, which is Europe's second longest river at 1,770 miles long. It does pass through 9 different countries, and it is the only river in Europe that flows from east to west. It starts up here in the Alps Mountains and flows out to the Black Sea. Next is the Rhine River, which also starts up here in the Alps Mountains. It's going to flow northwest out to the North Sea, and it carries more traffic than any other waterway in the world. As far as climate, just like with the northern region, a lot of this area is going to have a lot more mild climate than you would expect, and that has to do with that, again, that North Atlantic current bringing those warm airs up. Most of the region has cool winters, mild summers with plenty of precipitation. Here is again that showing you that that ocean current system. One of the other things, though, is you do have some mountains that are going to prevent that warm air from getting over into the eastern part of Europe. As far as ecosystems, you have a lot of forest and grasslands. You do have deciduous forest. Deciduous means that those trees that lose their leaves in the winter. Some of the natural resources, fertile soil, water, natural gas, oil, coal, iron ore. Some of the natural disasters that can hit this area, flooding, especially if you're near a river. Cyclones can happen in areas like Great Britain. And again, that heavy rainfall, we did say that it does get lots and lots of precipitation, so that rainfall can definitely flood those rivers. Moving on to southern Europe, we're looking at Spain, Portugal, Italy, and Greece. The climate in this region is has a lot to do with the fact that it is close to water. Yeah, all of these areas touch water down here. And a lot of the areas are really mountainy. You can see in this elevation map, you've got mountains here, you've got mountains kind of all over Spain here, and mountains in Greece as well. Spain is a mountainous country. It occupies 85% of the Iberian Peninsula. Portugal is its neighbor there. You have the Pyrenees Mountains, which separate Spain and France. The coastline in Spain is really, really rugged, but there are some harbors. Most of Spain has a harsh climate, and the mountains influence this climate. You do have some rivers running through here. You do have some hydroelectricity, and then a list of other natural resources. Portugal is to the west of Spain. You do have some mountains and plains here. The coast of Portugal is not nearly as rugged as Spain's, so you do have much more harbor. Climate, again, you do have the fact that it is right here next to the sea, so it does have a more mild climate. You've got a list of natural resources here. Forests are definitely an important resource. It covers more than 40% of Portugal's landscape. Andorra is this teeny tiny little country between Spain and France. It is in the Pyrenees Mountains. They do have lots of electricity through hydroelectricity. They have lots of water for hydroelectricity. They have cool, dry summers. Winters are cold and snowy. Again, it is up here in the Pyrenees Mountains. Water is its most important natural resource. Italy is the boot-shaped country down here. Its landforms, you do have the Alps Mountains. You have the Apennines, which kind of go down through the middle of Italy. You have a couple of rivers that are both navigable. Italy is almost like two different countries. The northern region and the southern region are very, very different, not only in climate, not only in resources, but also in culture. Greece is down here on the Balkan Peninsula. It is very mountainous, so they do actually have lots of earthquakes there. No navigable rivers, not very many natural resources. The northern part of Greece, closer to these other countries here, does have a more continental climate. Down here, you have more of that Mediterranean climate. You have a list of natural resources there. And that is it for Europe.